It appears it's going to. Here he is up the fourth corner. Yes, Ernie Irvan wins the Busch 500.
Here you see Irvan won his first Winston Cup race just a year ago, but he's going to win a lot more. Guy is good.
Ernie's aggressive, and he admittedly follows Earnhardt's path.
It seems wherever Ernie Irvan goes these days, controversy follows.
I don't want to get hurt driving one of these race cars, and this looks like the kind of guy that could hurt you.
He's gone.
At 8:40 a.m. this morning, Ernie Irvan slammed the second turn concrete wall.
One of NASCAR's brightest stars, Ernie Irvan, is clinging on to life in a Michigan hospital.
One of the most incredible comebacks in all of sports history. Ernie Irvan, a 10% chance of surviving, but now he's back in a race car.
Ernie Irvan, he's back in victory lane.
It is said that strength comes from pain. In that respect, Ernie Irvan is a very strong man. In his life, he's endured both great difficulty and success, and brought excitement to the racetrack with driving skills few possessed. Through it all, Ernie has survived as a testimony to his resiliency. Ernie Irvan was born January 13, 1959 in Salinas, California, much to the surprise of his parents. In his autobiography, Ernie wrote that his parents were told they could never get pregnant. After adopting two girls, Ernie was the first child they never expected to conceive. He was followed soon by a brother and another sister. The first tragic moment Ernie faced was when he was 3 years old. On the afternoon of November 21, 1962, his 2-year-old brother David was playing in the driveway, got in his mother's car, and released the parking brake. When the car backed down the steep driveway, David fell out and the car rolled over him. Tragically, David died before reaching the hospital. Ernie's father, Vic, owned an auto salvage yard. Known as Vic the Villain, he raced at short tracks in Watsonville, Merced, and Antioch. Ernie began racing go-karts when he was 8. Go-karts were how Ernie was introduced to Tim Williamson, who quickly became like a brother to him. By coincidence, Ernie and Tim were both born on January 13th, but Tim was 3 years older. Williamson was a great go-kart racer with many successes, including once finishing second to Ricky Rudd in a 1971 national event. As he moved into stock car racing, Tim worked in the Irvan salvage yard and built his race cars. Ernie made his stock car debut at the Stockton 99 Speedway in July 1975. In his early years of racing, Ernie's mentor was Ivan Baldwin, one of California's greatest short-track racers. With Baldwin's advice, Ernie won the 1977 track championship at Stockton. On Christmas Eve 1977, Ernie and his family were surprised to discover a note left by his father, saying he was leaving and moving to North Carolina. He had sold the salvage yard and used that money to take over as the promoter of Concord Speedway, a half-mile dirt track. Now 18, Ernie had to race without a father's guidance. Meanwhile, Tim Williamson was a few steps ahead of him on the ladder, and he made 5 starts that year in NASCAR's West Series. Tim made his debut at Stockton in April. Amazingly, he led all but 1 lap and won the race. Later that year, he won the pole at Sears Point. The following year, in 1979, was his rookie year in the series when he raced full-time. In July, Tim led every lap and won at Roseville. In August, he again won the pole at Sears Point, but was passed for the win with 2 laps to go. Ultimately, that would eventually cost him the championship, as he lost the title by just 5 points. But no one had ever finished that high in the points in their rookie year, and instantly Williamson became one of the brightest prospects for NASCAR teams. Tim Williamson may well have been a driver destined for NASCAR championships. For 1980, he reached a deal to enter the Cup Series and compete for Rookie of the Year, driving an 18-race schedule in an Oldsmobile owned by J.D. Stacy and built by veteran crew chief Booby Harrington. The first race of the season was on January 13th at Riverside. For that, he rented a car from Jimmy Insolo. Williamson would fly to Charlotte one day later to prepare for the Daytona 500. But before all that, there was a race for NASCAR's Grand American Series on Saturday. It was a short-lived series for modified late models that raced everywhere from short tracks to Daytona and Talladega and road courses. In January 1979, Williamson won the Grand Am race at Riverside. He won again when the series returned in June. He entered the January 12th race as the favorite to win again and qualified 4th. Ernie was also in the race and qualified 12th. The track was wet at the start, so several laps were spent under caution to dry it before the green flag waved. On lap 11, near the end of the S's, Williamson was touched by another car and spun off the track to the left, hitting the wall with the right side. Ernie was a few cars behind and later said he didn't think the wreck was too bad. Then he saw a doctor performing CPR on Tim, and after finishing third, Ernie was told that his best friend was dead. The following day, NASCAR officials said that Williamson was racing with his shoulder harness unhooked. They speculated that Tim unhooked his shoulder harness during the many pace laps and left only his lap belts on. That idea was disputed by all who knew Tim, who was very conscious of safety. Harrington even spoke of how Williamson asked for new seatbelts in his Daytona car instead of year-old ones. Ernie was outraged at how his friend's memory was overshadowed by something he didn't do. A few months later, NASCAR officials retracted the statement and said that he was wearing the harness, but that it had broken in the crash. Ernie continued racing at California short tracks until November 1982, when he joined his father in North Carolina. He was soon followed by his mother, who reunited with his father. Once Ernie arrived, he got a job at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, welding seats into the grandstands. He began working for and living with Mark Reno, who he knew from California. They built late-model race cars and started winning often.
The NDRA six-cylinder World Championship came down to this pass. After battling for 41 laps, pole sitter Ernie Irvan gets around Brogy Broyles and hangs on over the final 9 laps to take the win.
I did a lot of things wrong. I mean, it's a wonder that I'm Winston Cup racing now, because I was about as rough as you could get on short tracks, and when the race was over, if they wanted to fight, we'd do that too.
While Ernie was winning on dirt, Concord Speedway was paved in 1985, and wins came even easier. The idea then came to move up to NASCAR in 1986. Ernie and Mark built a car for the Busch Series and brought it to Charlotte in October of 1986. Ernie started 29th and finished 27th after blowing an engine. 2 weeks later, he raced at Rockingham and finished 35th, only running 29 laps because a crewman accidentally put a screwdriver through the radiator, costing another engine. Around this time, Ernie got married, and in April 1987, the couple's first son was born. In 1987, it was decided that the only way Ernie would get to the Winston Cup Series was if he and Mark Reno built another car themselves. This time, they put together a Chevrolet, and through a few connections, entered the car for Patty Moise at Watkins Glen. Sometimes Ken Schrader and Dale Earnhardt would stop by Mark Reno's shop, and while the four of them were drinking beer at 2 in the morning once, they talked about how Ernie planned to run at Richmond in September. A deal was made where they would put Earnhardt's new Chevrolet dealership on the car in exchange for parts and tires, but it also gave credibility for Ernie that the defending Cup champion would put his name on a guy making his series debut.
So Schrader was going to be the negotiator in it, so we didn't get any money for the deal. We got some parts and some help and credibility and all that. Schrader may have got some money. We don't know yet. He won't admit to it, but all I know is he left the shop with Earnhardt, and we put Earnhardt Chevrolet on the side. And Schrader may have got a couple grand for it. We don't know, but knowing Schrader, it's probably true.
Ernie said that you put that deal together for him. Y'all rode by, and you lined up all the sponsorship that Earnhardt was going to pay for it. He says that he never got anything. He's claiming that maybe you got, like, he said he got a few parts, and maybe you got $2,000 and kept it. That's not my contention. If you kept it, we won't air this if I get half of it.
Well, you know, I kind of thought that they must have got it and forgot to give me my percentage. You know, normal deal's 10% or something like that, and I never got anything from them. They did give me some of the parts they got after they had bent them, but they weren't much good to me.
Ken Schrader brokered it. Dale Earnhardt sponsored it. Ernie Irvan drove it. The car lasted less time in his first race than it took me to say all this. But it did last long enough for veteran car owner D.K. Ulrich to notice Irvan.
DK walked in and he said, man, you be interested in driving my car at Wilkesboro or Martinsville? You know me, I'm like, well, yeah, you know, do you need me to tow it up there too? You know, and so me and DK worked a deal out that I'd drive the car at Wilkesboro and Martinsville, and all DK wanted to do is get in the race and finish the race. Well, we did that in both races. I think we were 15th and 16th.
But it was good enough for DK Ulrich to hire Irvin full-time for the 1988 season.
Watch what happened to Ernie Irvan here later in the race. That's Phil Barkdahl behind him. They touched, and Ernie Irvan went for one of the wildest rides in his first 125 milers.
And Irvan comes down just a little bit. Barkdahl touches him, sends him in a spin.
The repercussions, several cars involved, no one injured, thank goodness. But Ernie Irvan's hopes as a rookie to come from California and make the 500 will have to wait another year.
And we have a spin here on the front stretch. Ernie Irvan and Ken Bouchard are involved in a wall banger.
Up until about June, I'd pretty much wrecked about everything DK had.
How many cars did Ernie wreck for me? Well, you know, we started in, must have been 87, I think we started. The first 10 races we went to, we lost 8 cars in the first 10 races that we went to. But when we, you know, we came to an agreement shortly after that, and we decided we were going to put Ernie in the body shop about 12 hours a day in the next few weeks if the trend continued is what we were doing. And no, you know, seriously, we had a discussion about it and made some improvements on where he was looking on the racetrack. Instead of looking right in front of him, he needed to look way out in distance and, you know, be more prepared for situations when they came.
After a little discussion like that with the owner, a racer knows he's got 2 choices: stop wrecking or start looking for a real job.
NASCAR and the Winston Cup Division here at Bristol International Raceway for the Valley Dale 500 on this Sunday afternoon. And Ernie Irvan in car number 2 is going to be the leader.
Yes, he made a pit stop on the backstretch, made a good pit stop, got out before the caution car got around, and that is one of the advantages of pitting on the backstretch. If you can jump in before the front-running cars do and make your pit stop and get back out there, and that's exactly what Ernie Irvan did.
Well, Ernie was ready for that restart, wasn't he? Look at the jump he got on Alan Kowicki.
He has a 6, 8, 10 car length advantage on Alan Kowicki now, but Kowicki beginning to move in just a little bit. Ernie Irvan, the leader of the Valley Dale 500 with the Kroger sponsorship on that car.
And having a glory day here at Bristol out in front of the pack.
Well, that team's been getting better and better all year. I've kind of watched Ernie run, and he's gaining. I think every race he's moving up a little bit farther into the pack. And all of a sudden now here at Bristol, he's leading under green with really, it looks like it's easy, but I'm sure he's working pretty hard at it.
Larry Pearson moving up on the outside of the Hut Strickland car number 57. And here's Ernie Irvan taking the lead from Greg Sachs as Pearson gets loose, spins around, and Ernie Irvan barely misses him. Here comes Greg Sachs, almost T-bones him.
But then watch how very, very close that Ernie Irvan comes to hitting the Larry Pearson car, and so too Greg Sachs. Look at this, though.
Good job of driving. Boy, he just kept that thing down on the inside. That is a sign of a good handling race car and a sign of a good driver.
It is Ernie Irvan in car number 2. Now, the 16 car of Larry Pearson is not on the lead lap, but Ernie Irvan still looking very strong here with Rick Wilson running in second spot.
Oh, trouble here. Ernie Irvan into the wall.
Boy, he got way up on that wall, and Brett Bodine becomes involved. And it appears as if the day for Ernie Irvan is over after a very fine performance in the first 168 laps.
Well, that's really too bad because he was having one super run here today, and the best race of his career, really, as far as Winston Cup racing is concerned.
Well, Ernie Irvan just stepped out of the infield care center, and he is okay. That's the good news. Ernie, I want to tell you, partner, a super run today in that Kroger Pontiac.
Yeah, really, Bob Johnson had that car really working good, and, you know, we were kind of just biding our time and trying to pick cars off as, you know, we could, and car ran real good. We must have cut a tire.
You hit the wall pretty hard, and then you got tagged up there. I mean, did you have any warning at all the tire was going to go?
Well, no, none at all. I just, you know, heard it pop, and, you know, then when it does that, there's nowhere you can do here. Hang on.
Irvan finished the 1989 season with 4 top 10 finishes, the most for the team since 1981. He was 22nd in points. Entering the 1990 season, the DK Ulrich team was looking for sponsorship. In December, it was reported they were in talks for partnership with Carl Haas, co-owner of the Newman-Haas IndyCar team. It was said that he would bring Kmart and Amoco sponsorship to the team. But when that never happened, Irvan found another team.
Junie Donlevy has signed Ernie Irvan to run the full schedule, and they've obtained TrueCure Adhesives as a sponsor. TrueCure will provide Donlevy with the most lucrative sponsorship he's had in 40 years of racing.
You know, the biggest problem is when you're low on funds is, you know, your equipment gets old, you can't buy new wheels, you don't put on new tires every time. That's where this year we're going to be able to, you know, have new tires on when we're running good and be able to have wheels, you know, so you don't have wheel problem. You know, the engines will be better because you have more money to spend on them. Everything should multiply with money, you know, and hopefully the finishes from last year that I ran off a good end, hopefully we can multiply and even run better with Junie's car this year.
Unfortunately, it was too good to be true. Entering the Daytona 500, TrueCure never paid a cent. When Chad Little missed the Daytona 500, Bullseye Barbecue Sauce came on board Irvan's car. Ernie was also entered in the Busch Series race, but that year there were so many cars entered that they held a 100-mile qualifying race to set the last 10 cars on the grid. On the last lap of this qualifier, Ernie went from third to first, passing Michael Waltrip and Hut Strickland to take the win. In the main event on Saturday, Ernie barely avoided a major crash and finished 7th. In the Daytona 500, he finished 13th.
Trouble on the backstretch, car spinning. Number 90 car is involved. That, of course, is Ernie Irvan.
The sponsor search remained unsuccessful, and by early March, Junie Donlevy acknowledged he may have to shut down his team. In an interview, Donlevy called Ernie, quote, "a prince of a driver. That boy is a driver. Dang, he's such a good driver. That boy has a driving ability to be great. The way he's driving, he can compete with them if I can get him some horsepower." Then, after only 4 races, Phil Parsons was released from the Morgan McClure team. Originally, entering the 1990 season, Irvan had been their first choice, and now they had a second chance to get him.
A couple of guys that moved up just in those first 3 laps with green. Ernie Irvan moved up from 30th to 16th, and Kenny Schrader from 14th up to 9th. And Ernie Irvan, with a great race, started way back and is up running in the top 10 as well.
And this is Ernie's first race in that 4 car. My brother Phil was driving that car until a couple of weeks ago, and he was released. Ernie took over the ride and looks pretty good today.
He's looking super in that car.
Ernie Irvan, in his first time in the Oldsmobile number 4, started 30th. He's in the top 10. I think he's running 7th at the moment. Tony Glover is his crew chief. He's looking right now to catch a time as Ernie goes by, and he's relaying that time now to his driver as he heads into turn 1. Tony, this is a terrific way to start this race. You've got to be delighted.
Yeah, we're pretty happy right now. We got a long way to go, though.
They're optimistic early, but what a sensational run for Ernie Irvan in his first time in this car number 4, Paul.
And good news for this guy, Ernie Irvan. He started in 30th. He's now got the lead of the race. So with those stops, Ernie Irvan moves up into the top in his Oldsmobile. The Chevrolet of Dale Earnhardt now begins to wind up for the final time. And Earnhardt picks up the checkered flag as everybody scrambles in a battle across the line to finish this race.
Well, Paul, the motto for this team this weekend was go get 'em Earn. And in his first ride on that number 4 car, what a drive. From 30th to 3rd, congratulations on your best ever Winston Cup finish.
I tell you what, you know, I owe it all to the guys on the crew and the guy that builds the motor, you know, Runt, and all the guys at the shop did a hell of a job. That was you know, an awful good run for us, and, you know, I owe it all to them because I just drove my normal race, and that car made me that far up.
Now, was this a show-me opportunity? Do you think you've earned yourself a spot in this car for future races?
Well, we discussed it before the race, and, you know, he just wanted me to go out and do the best job I could, and he knew what kind of job I'd done in the cars I was in before, so he knew if I did that type of job in this type of car that we'd be a front runner, and that's the way it turned out.
It was something a driver dreams of. Immediately after Atlanta, Irvan signed a 5-year contract to drive for the team.
Well, here comes Ernie Irvan making a bid for 2nd place. He goes to the inside of Bodine. They touch coming up the corner. Irvan's going to lose it right here on the main straightaway. Irvan spins down the front stretch, and I don't think he's going to hit a thing.
Not yet anyway.
Not yet anyway. And he saves it.
He's going to make the camera dizzy with that spin. Woo!
Well, they had a serious vibration in the car, and they were working on the car and the front end of the car. Apparently, they may have had a hose come look. There looked to be a lot of oil up inside the engine compartment, and apparently that's what happened.
The problem is, Jerry, the vibration of bringing the car all the way around the racetrack with a flat tire tears those fittings apart.
After repairing a broken oil line, Ernie returned to the race 10 laps down. Over the radio, car owner Larry McClure told him, "You go out there and make these laps up. We can do it." For a driver in his second start for a new team, Ernie was eager to prove himself as a front runner.
When we get ready for the restart, Ernie is side by side with good old buddy Ken Schrader. This is where Irvan makes a major miscalculation. He thinks Schrader knows or cares what lap the guy next to him is on.
Kenny knows I'm 10 laps down. I got 4 tires, he's got 2. I mean, this ain't gonna be a problem. I'm gonna get a lap back real easy because he's gonna let me go. So we take off on the green, we drive into turn 1. Man, Kenny's still out there. You know, we drive off turn 2, he's still out there, he's running. We drive into turn 3 where you don't run in side by side. We go through there side by side, and we're trucking, and we're running fast, and Jeff Boodine's behind us trying to work on us, and so we ran that whole lap side by side. We ran a whole nother lap side by side. And in the meantime, I probably should have backed off because it's like, I realize now Kenny must not think I'm 10 laps down. He must think I'm 1 and trying to get a lap back. Now, I didn't think all this while this was happening. I think it now. But at the time, all I could think of is, okay, they said drive the wheels off of it. I'm driving it, you know.
Meanwhile, these guys are still side by side. This is a lap and a half.
Ernie Irvan trying to battle back and get one more lap.
Uh-oh, he's loose again and taking Schrader with him.
Bodine's going to be involved, I believe. Several cars are going to get tangled up in this mess. The track is going to be completely blocked. And so did Earnhardt. And there is Ernie Irvan as his car.
Wow, it's a mess this time.
It is badly, badly damaged.
The crash resulted in thousands of dollars in damage to machinery. But more importantly, it resulted in an injury to Neil Bonnet. Watch again in slow motion and you can trace Bonnet's path through the crash. With other cars all around him, his Wood Brothers Ford is unable to move from a course that takes him into Sterling Marlin as his number 94 Oldsmobile careens off the wall. The impact knocks Bonnet unconscious, and later in the day, while undergoing tests at a local hospital, Neil begins suffering from amnesia. In the early part of the week, Neil suffered from a total loss of memory, unable to recognize even his wife. Now, amnesia is a condition that can clear up in a short period of time, or it may never clear up. No one really knows.
When I see that, I'll be the first one to tell you, standing in front of this camera and not in that race car is not where I want to be. But I'll also be the first one to tell you I don't have any animosity to any driver on a racetrack for an accident. That's racing. You're going to put cars in places they shouldn't be at times. But when you're real careful, you don't win a lot of races. I don't have any animosity toward Ernie. Matter of fact, he's proven that he's a winner.
On the pole, his first in Winston Cup competition, it's the 6th pole winner of the year, Ernie Irvan from Modesto, California. He'll drive the number 4 Kodak Film Oldsmobile. Now here's a battle for the lead again as Ernie Irvan has decided he wants to take back the lead. He and Jeff Bodine move side by side into first and second turns. Jeff Bodine hangs on and Ernie Irvan is going to spin down the backstretch.
And he spins to the inside of the racetrack. Let's see, is the caution coming out? Not yet.
Speaking of mixed emotions, let's put this guy on the spot. Ernie Irvan is on the pole in the car from which this man was released after 3 races this year. You must have mixed emotions about that.
Well, I do, Dave, but see, if I was in that car on the pole, then I wouldn't be able to be up here with you for 3.5, 4 hours.
What a sacrifice.
Ernie Irvan is no stranger to the front row. Just a few weeks ago in Charlotte, North Carolina, a special consolation type of event, the Winston Open, he was on the pole there. Last week in Sonoma, California, he sat on the outside pole. Bristol, Tennessee, he was on the pole. Today he's on the pole for this one at Pocono. You keep starting up here. We just got to finish one up front.
I tell you, that's what we're working towards. We're getting our qualifying program down real good. Our race program's getting awful good, too. Tony Glover, the crew chief, is, trying to coach me into winning a race. We got the car capable. We got the crew capable. Now he's working on getting the driver capable.
No driver. Car number 4. This is the newcomer, Ernie Irvan, knocking on the door.
No driver, as you said a moment ago, has ever won his first race here at the Michigan International Speedway, but he is strong.
There you see Earnhardt trying to take it away. The man in black closing right up in there.
Well, Earnhardt is an intimidator, and if Ernie Irvan can sustain that and go on and win this race, he will establish himself as a top Winston Cup driver.
To the inside goes car number 3. You're watching it live on CBS, the Michigan 400. Here comes Dale Earnhardt. Great Winston Cup champion fighting with this youngster. He has him on the outside, and the black number 3 rolls down. On the outside, Ernie Irvan, who came out of California from Mark Martin's car. Watch this battle. Now here's Irvan trying to come to the inside. Beautiful move for 1. It's down to this. White flag is out. Last lap, 4 cars under the flag. Going into turn number 1. Ernie Irvan peels off, tries to move below number 3. Right there is Dale Earnhardt. Checkers about to be extended. And this Michigan 400 belongs to Dale Earnhardt. He is tough, and so is Ernie Irvan.
Ernie drove a tremendous race here today. He doesn't need to drop his head. He don't need to hang his head, Shane. He's driven a great race.
In January of 1990, you didn't have a ride, didn't have a deal for the season, didn't know what you were going to be doing. Here you are in Michigan, just inches short of victory circle. Things have really turned around for you. Are you surprised that it's happened the way it has?
Well, I was surprised, ended up with no ride towards the end of the year and start in January, but things have come out real good and just proves to show that if you keep trying and trying hard, things will come your way.
1990 was a breakout year for Ernie. In July, crew chief Tony Glover said, quote, "He's the best new talent to join this circuit since Tim Richmond. He has all the natural tools you just can't teach."
Always an enthusiastic crowd here at Bristol International Raceway as we get set to bring you live coverage of the Busch 500 Winston Cup race on this Saturday night. Back at Bristol, and here is Ricky Rutt moving to the inside of Dale Earnhardt in the 4th turn, trying to get one of 2 laps back. Rick is 2 laps down because, and here comes Ernie Irvan now battling Dale Earnhardt for the lead down the backstretch. Let's see who wins this race to turn 3, and Ernie Irvan has the spot as Ernie Irvan leads the Busch 500. Here comes Irvan off the corner, completing lap number 498. 2 laps to go. Rusty Wallace looks inside. No, we can't make the pass. Will Ernie Irvan hold on for his first Winston Cup victory?
He's coming down for the white flag.
1 more lap to go on this .533 track. There's the white flag from Doyle Ford. 1 more lap to go. Let's watch this final lap and see if Ernie Irvan can hold off the challenge of defending Winston Cup champion Rusty Wallace, who won his first race here at Bristol. Ernie Irvan, it appears, is going to. Here he is up the 4th corner. Yes, Ernie Irvan wins the Busch 500.
Look at this. Look at this group.
The Kodak Morgan McClure team.
Oh, man. Now, those guys happy.
And Ernie Irvan from Modesto, California, has finally done it. He has come close this year. He has run so well since taking over this ride. And now it pays off with his first Winston Cup victory.
I tell you what, I thought Bristol was tough, running in the back. It's a lot tougher running in the front. You can't make a mistake, Dale had a little bad luck, but we kept pressuring him. Then Rusty run me around the air. We were both loose. I was making a lot of mistakes, but I happened to hang on.
Ernie's aggressive style earned him the nickname Swervin Irvan. According to a 1990 interview with Ernie, he got that nickname from Jimmy Means, who was angry after an aggressive practice session at North Wilkesboro.
Ooh, boy, those 2 cars almost hit coming off that corner.
Boy, Ernie is really getting off the 4th corner and getting momentum down the straightaway. This time he passes Dale Earnhardt. Will it stick?
Remember when Dale Earnhardt used to sponsor some of Ernie's cars to give him some help so he could race?
Yep.
Dale, might have been a mistake. Should have sent that boy back to California.
Welcome back to the Winston Cup Awards banquet from the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Ernie Irvan is receiving an award from STP. Let's go down to the stage.
There were 3 names you always heard: NASCAR, Winston, and STP. STP and NASCAR, racing go hand in hand. What else can you say about a company that has been involved in motorsports longer than I've been alive? Dick, on behalf of all the NASCAR drivers, the ones on this stage tonight, and the thousands of NASCAR drivers in all divisions elsewhere, I just want you to know how much we all appreciate what you and STP have meant to us. We sincerely appreciate your support of our sport. Thank you.
A driver that really matured in the 1990 season, Benny.
Unbelievable. And there's another driver that next year might be at the head table.
Watch out, yeah.
To demonstrate the superior color of new Kodak Gold 400 film, just open a box. It has the richest, most vivid color available in a high-speed film. New Kodak Gold 400. Fast film. True colors.
With a win under his belt and the eye of a tiger, Ernie Irvan headed into Speed Weeks 1991, his first full season with Morgan McClure Racing, and with one thing on his mind: winning. But many challenges would lie ahead for him and his Kodak Films crew. The first, qualifying for the Super Bowl of stock car racing, the Daytona 500. During practice runs, Ernie had been clocked as one of the fastest of the 59 cars that would eventually take to the track and attempt to secure the front row starting positions for the coveted Crown Jewel. With no room for error, his run is nothing less than picture perfect, 46.003 seconds. His speed, 195.639 miles per hour.
Let's look at that starting order right now with Allison there, Ernie Irvan in second. For just a moment, let's talk about newsmakers here. And if there is one newsmaker for sure, it's the man in black. Number 3, Dale Earnhardt. Along press row, everybody's saying he is the man to beat. He's looked invincible thus far this weekend. Earnhardt stays up in front. Irvan second, Kyle Petty third, Rusty Wallace fourth. Kyle Petty moves in, closes up, picks up a draft with number 4 and tries to close on number 3.
Yeah, you wonder, is Earnhardt running out of gas? He pulled to the inside to sort of block them, but maybe that was just a move to keep them from trying to draft by on the inside.
Out of turn number 4, Kyle Petty looks outside. Here they come from Earnhardt's vantage as they come to the line, switching back and forth. It is Petty, but it's Earnhardt to the line first. Ernie Irvan in second, Kyle Petty in third in the second 125-mile qualifier.
It looked easy. Didn't look like Ernie had much for you there at the end. Were you concerned at all?
Well, him and Kyle hooked up that last lap and drafted up to me down the backstretch. Ernie bumped me a little going in through there, sort of wiggled me, but we got through there okay.
Ernie Irvan will start the 500 from the front row, but today's race. What do you think? You had the best view in the house. Have we seen all Dale Earnhardt's got?
Well, yeah, I think that's all he's got. You know, he's like us. He wasn't handling, we weren't handling, so, you know, it slowed our speeds down about a half a second, so it enabled a lot of other cars to run with us. But I think come the 500, we're both going to get our cars handled a little better, and I think we're both going to be awful tough to beat.
So we haven't seen all Ernie Irvan's got.
Well, you know, it was all we had for the day, you know, with some chassis adjustment and things like that. I think we got a lot more left in the car. And, you know, if we can come back and do that, this Kodak Film, Delco Remy, Chevrolet, AC spark plug cars and run awful good.
All right, that's everybody. Let's go back to Ken Squire.
Now let's see who everybody likes down here for the 500. And first, let's go to Dave Despain.
Hey, Ken, picking's easy when the fastest guy's got the fastest car. Give me Dale Earnhardt, but with a reserve choice. If Lady Luck kicks Dale in the pants again tomorrow, Ernie Irvan will take home the money.
But the general consensus among everybody here is Earnhardt's in there. Petty probably the dark horse. How about it, Chris? Who do you pick?
Because the burning question here is unanswered. Who can beat Dale Earnhardt? I've been asked who I think will win the race. I don't think anybody can beat Dale Earnhardt, Ken.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
already starting going into turn 3. There's Earnhardt moving up on Ernie Irvan. He isn't going to waste much time, Ken, trying to go to the front.
That's what we may see all day. That car runs on a rail on the bottom of the racetrack. Earnhardt on the bottom for second.
Shaking his fist at somebody already.
With new pit road rules that allowed only minor adjustments and fuel to be added under caution flag conditions, the Kodak crew finally brought number 4 in for fuel during the 4th yellow of the day. But not having fresh tires took its toll through lap 84. That's when Ernie got fuel, right side tires, and revived opportunity. Ernie then steadily clawed his way to the top, and by lap 125 had taken the lead. But by lap 132, more gas and 4 tires were needed in order to notch his way back to the front. Ernie drove harder than he had all day.
Ernie Irvan's number 4 now takes the lead, lapping Bobby Hamilton. Here you see Irvan in the Morgan McClure Chevrolet, still out in front. Won his first Winston Cup race just a year ago, but he's going to win a lot more. Guy is good. Coming down to the line, ready to take green. Final moments, 500. 188 laps complete as they come to the stripe. 12 to go. And it's Wallace, Waltrip, Earnhardt, Irvan. Here comes the man in black, Earnhardt to the inside. Trying to win the race he's never won. 48 Winston Cup victories. Car in the wall. Wallace slams the wall on the outside. Another car breaking loose. Derek Cope spinning to the line.
And Darrell Waltrip in the pits.
Darrell Waltrip in trouble.
Derek Cope.
4 more cars right here at the start finish line. Blowing tires. Caution is out.
There's that lack of a gear hindering Kyle Petty and Ernie Irvan slightly as Dale Earnhardt really jumps into a lead. And then
7 cars in that lead lap. Earnhardt stays first. Ernie Irvan in second. Here's Davey Allison coming up to third. Kyle Petty in fourth. Now Kyle drops back, and it's Joe Ruttman into fourth. Look at this run down the inside. Car number 4 sliding through, and Ernie Irvan planks it in there. Davey Allison up on the outside. Davey Allison makes a run on Earnhardt for second place. The Ford on the high side, Chevy on the inside, and Chevy out in front. Ernie Irvan. Is this going to be an upset? We'll see. 28 and 3 are locked up side by side, and as they run wheel to wheel, Ernie Irvan says, "Goodbye, gang," and pulls 3 car lengths out in front.
Well, yeah, I think there's something wrong with Earnhardt's car. He and Davey Allison touch going down the backstretch into turn 3. Earnhardt trying to hang on, but...
And look, they're still locked side by side.
And of course, that's just playing right into the hands of Ernie Irvan.
Irvan was slow coming up through the gears on the restart. Crew chief Tony Glover said he thought he hung back a little too far. But every time the 2 black cars come past side by side, that's a break for Ernie Irvan's chances to win the 500.
And there's trouble off the turn 2.
Ernie Irvan in front, and Earnhardt.
Davey Allison. Davey Allison and Dale Earnhardt and Davey Allison both out of this race.
Ernie Irvan's number 4 streaking across the line. Rest of the field coming by. Tony Glover.
Boy, he can't contain himself, and I don't blame him. This is it. This is the biggest.
Ernie Irvan coming to the line and will win the 33rd annual 500 at about 55 miles an hour. Thank you. Hand out and waving. Irvan in this surprising, unbelievable finish to the 500.
Ernie Irvan, what's it feel like?
Man, I don't know, man. When we come across, I looked in my mirror, saw Dale and Davey get sideways. I remembered there was like 98 laps, 2 laps left. I said, this can't be true. I just kept waiting for them guys to run me down, and then when we had to just, live off the caution. Then we come around and it started running out of gas on the caution. I said, no, this can't happen to me. Got down on the apron and it kept running. But all of this crew, this Kodak film, Delco Remy Chevrolet, AC spark plugs, I mean, they did an excellent job in the pits. The ultimate win is the Daytona 500. Everybody in the garage area has shot for this all their life, and I feel real fortunate for my first year in a full-time ride with a major backing with Kodak to be in victory lane now. And I get all the credit. The team did all the work, so I'm giving them all the credit.
While his career had reached the pinnacle of stock car racing, Ernie's personal life was filled with pain. In his biography, he wrote, quote, "I started out the 1991 season in great emotional upheaval. I was living a nightmare out of a bad country and western song. Before the season, Ernie's wife filed for divorce, and he moved into a studio apartment. Just 2 days after winning the Daytona 500, she gave birth to the couple's second son, but there was little joy to be had. In March, Ernie met a woman named Kim, and they soon began dating. Part of the reason his marriage failed was that his wife had been cheating on him. Kim suggested that he run a DNA test to confirm that he truly was the father of his 2 sons. Then came the devastating news. He wasn't the father of either. Within months, he lost his wife, 2 sons, and would face the very public criticism of his fellow racers.
Tremendous side-by-side racing and a crash. Mark Martin's car lifts off the ground but does not go over. But this crash is going to involve several cars.
You see Hut Strickland in the mud there. And Ernie Irvan got into Kyle Petty. That was the first thing that happened.
How is Kyle?
He's got a left broken leg, broken right in half. Just popped like that.
Other than the okay spirits, what did he say to you?
Can't say it on national television. He said that Ernie Irvan just got out of control.
He had the left side tires down where you just don't go.
Oh, and a spin!
Hut Strickland. A massive crash coming off turn number 3. Hut Strickland and Ernie Irvan were battling for the lead in turn 3.
They're coming off the corner. Ernie runs up and just touches the 12 car in the back enough to send him spinning.
It seemed wherever Ernie Irvan goes these days, controversy follows. Darrell Waltrip.
I see a young man with a driving style that might be good for Saturday night racing, but it just isn't going to fly here in Winston Cup. I hope I'm not the only driver that's going out on the line or out on the limb and saying how I feel, but I don't want to get hurt driving one of these race cars any more than anybody else does, and this looks like the kind of guy that could hurt you.
I think it's to the point maybe NASCAR needs to take a look at it. Seems like he comes out, he doesn't get wrecked. I like Ernie, think he's a good guy, but I'm getting tired of getting swept up in all his accidents.
The biggest problem with Ernie Irvan is he has a lot better equipment than he's a driver. That's number 1 problem. Number 2 problem, the boy can't tell the truth from a lie. If you look through the accident that he caused here in Talladega and the one in Pocono, both times he denied that he had anything to do with it. Ray Charles could see that he caused both of those accidents, and why he's not man enough to come and admit that he made a mistake and just and patch the fences with everybody else, I don't know. He keeps denying all he's doing and making it worse for everybody.
Between the crash at Talladega and the crash at Pocono, Swervin Irvan was in trouble. He had lost the respect of many in the garage and needed to earn it back quickly.
I've talked to a few of the drivers this week and some of the car owners, and I've lost a lot of respect. I've lost the respect of a lot of drivers and a lot of car owners in this garage area, and that hurts. I've drove a little bit over aggressive some. I'm going to work on trying to be a little more patient and want to earn everybody's respect back. I like to be liked in the garage area, and appreciate it maybe if you guys give me a shot at it. And I definitely want to be everybody's friend in here.
Well, I tell you, it took a lot of nerve to get up and say that in front of all the drivers, but he has had quite a bit of criticism. He's a great race driver, has a great future ahead of him. Chris, you were at that meeting this morning. What were your feelings?
Well, I know that humble pie is bitter pie to eat, but I have to admire Ernie Irvan. I expect to see a change in him.
Rusty Wallace was saying after that, he walked up to Ernie as they walked out of the meeting and said that was a good start. It'll probably take them about 2 years to forget it.
Well, Rusty knows. He had an image one time to overcome himself.
Today, live from Watkins Glen International Raceway in New York, it's the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race.
The field took the green flag and the battle was on. Throughout the race, Ernie battled with Rudd, Wallace, Davey Allison, and Mark Martin in one of the most exciting road course races in years. In the closing laps, it was clear the smooth work by his crew and his talent on the track had made Ernie the man to beat. On the final lap, Ernie faced his final challenge as Mark Martin tried to make a move in turn 1. but Martin looped the Folgers Ford, taking himself and the third-place car of Allison out of the picture. Ernie Irvan took the checkered flag by 7 seconds over Ricky Rudd. It was his second win of the season and moved him back into third place in the point standings.
Whoever said you were a road racer, congratulations. You did a good job at Sears Point. You did a great job today.
I faked them, didn't I? They didn't know I could road race. We didn't either when we got here, but you know, just it takes a good race car, and we had a good one today. And same car we ran Sears Point with. It ran well out there, but was just the guy not really in the limelight all day. But you know, today we were in the front all day, and in fact, I spun out in the front, second time this year since I've been leading a road course and spin out. Did that with my Busch car here, but you know, they just gave me a good race car with all the Kodak, Chevrolet, Delco, Remy, and AC spark plugs. And without them and without all the support from my crew, we couldn't do this. And you know, we had a whole grandstands full of people down there in turn 2, and they all got to see all them guys spin in the last lap. And you know, it was like, I don't think I can screw this last lap up with nobody on the same straightaway. And I still missed a gear. So, you know, I am not no road racer. I just happened to luck out.
Finishing 5th in the standings was Ernie Irvan.
I wouldn't be standing here right now if it wasn't for Tony Glover and Larry McClure taking a chance on putting a driver in the car that didn't have a lot of experience. And we keep building. We finished 9th last year in points. We gained 4 this year. So if we gain 4 next year, we'll be sitting up here where Dale is. Congratulations, Dale and Teresa, on your great job this year. Thank you.
1991 was a rewarding but difficult year. Ernie later wrote, quote, "I was extremely angry with my wife and felt very alone, except for my great friendships with members of my race team. You couldn't have written a soap opera during that period of my life that was as confusing and complex as what I was going through. It was not an easy time in my life. I spent a lot of time feeling confused and hurt. Consequently, I was a bundle of emotions all through the 1992 season. Sometimes it was hard for me to stay focused. Too often, I had difficulty concealing my irritation and controlling my anger."
We got a battle for the lead because of a shower just moments ago. And they're about to make it 3 wide off the banking. Ernie Irvan down on the inside of number 4. Storms into the lead in the back straightaway. Ernie Irvan out of Modesto, California. Hits. He's into Elliott. They're sliding, trying to correct. Picked them up. Into the wall goes Sterling Marlin. And the leaders are all in trouble here. Richard Petty's car getting hit.
Before the cars were warmed up, the biggest crash would take place. A 12-car pileup in turn 1. The most serious injury came to Ernie Irvan, who broke his collarbone as he was hit by Ward Burton.
Ernie Irvan, only 2 hours out of the hospital, pulls the car into pit road. Now, what they did before the start of engine, they practiced this driver exchange to try and get it done as quickly and expeditiously as possible. Irvan still hurting with the collarbone. He is out of the car, as you can see, and now Labonte gets in. And
the clutch was not working. He cannot shift the car. He was in first gear, having to run less than about 60 miles an hour around here.
And Davey Allison just blew going into turn 3, took Ernie Irvan, and Darrell might have escaped maybe with not too much damage to his Chevrolet.
The crew, just about as surprised as we were to see Ernie Irvan suddenly slow and come behind the wall. So once again, speculation has to be that maybe something in the rear gearing, an axle problem, maybe a drive, but like we saw with Alan Kowicki, could be a problem.
After 9 races, Irvan was just 23rd in points. He responded with 3 straight top 5s at Talladega, Charlotte, and Dover. Then it was on to Sears Point, where Ernie put on one of his greatest performances.
Ricky Rudd is on the pole in second. Ernie Irvan from Modesto, California in the Kodak Film Chevrolet Lumina number 4. Ernie Irvan leads Ricky Rudd.
But Ernie Irvan might have a problem. He might have jumped Ricky Rudd on the start.
Well, it was obvious that he was well out in front of the rest of the pack, including the pole sitter Ricky Rudd. And yes, indeed, the number 4 Kodak Film Chevrolet comes in for a pit stop. This is a stop and go for Ernie Irvan.
They are trying to talk to Ernie, trying to keep him cool, saying, don't worry about it. Those things happen. Now he's away, headed back to turn 1.
Yeah, the final car goes by him. He now drops in at the tail of the field. Ernie Irvan, just to start, was black flagged and now has to go to the end of the field.
Now
There is Ernie Irvan. Remember, he started from the outside of the front row, was black flagged for jumping the start, and now Ernie Irvan finds himself in 18th position, still on the lead lap. Certainly not out of contention, but definitely suffering somewhat of a setback by jumping the start and being black flagged for a stop-and-go penalty. Back in 4th and 5th position, Mark Martin and Ernie Irvan. And Ernie has been able to thread his way through the traffic after that early stop-and-go penalty on the very first lap. There's Ernie Irvan, 2nd position. Here's Jerry.
Gentlemen, I spoke with Ernie just before he climbed in the car at the beginning of the race, and he was so excited, so pumped up about running this race today. So this is the same car we won with at Watkins Glen last August. I feel like we have the best race car here. He obviously was pretty excited when he took the green flag, because they black flagged him for jumping the start. But obviously now, his optimism was well-founded because he's doing very, very well, chasing Terry Labonte.
Look out, he's got him on the inside, I believe, this time. Yes, Irvan has a lead.
Whoa! From the back to the front.
Ernie Irvan black flagged at the beginning of the race because he jumped the start, came in for a stop-and-go penalty, went to the rear of the field, and now, with a little over 5 laps to go, has the lead from Terry Labonte. Here he is, Ernie Irvan, off of corner number 11. He sees the checkered flag from starter Doyle Ford. And here it is, the checkered waves, and Ernie Irvan has won the St. Mark's Supermarkets 300 from Sears Point International Raceway.
On the start of the race, Doyle threw the green flag, so Tony said go. I took off, and I saw the green. Didn't think there was any wrong. I knew Rucky lagged back, and I didn't know what the problem was. The next thing I know, Tony says, okay, don't get mad, but you got to come in for a stop and go. And I mean, it was like, well, okay, you know, I come in and I said, what was the problem? He says, you have to wait for the leader to take off before you can take off. I said, well, why did they throw the green flag then? And he goes, that's what we're trying to find out. So I don't understand the interpretation of the rule, but evidently we did it wrong according to the books, and we were just fortunate to come back from it.
Turn 10, one more corner. Todd Bodine looking for his 3rd Busch Grand National victory. Cannot make the dive under Ernie Irvan, and they will come to the caution flag. Ernie Irvan's on his way to victory lane.
Here they come off the banking. This will decide who wins the Pepsi 400. The checkered flag is out. Ernie Irvan wins it. Harlan is 2nd, followed by Dale Jarrett.
Whenever one guy makes that move, white flag, when one guy makes a move, you're going to see all of them make it.
Will it be in turn 1 and turn 3 or the tri-oval? Here they go to 1, and here goes Irvan to the bottom. Waltrip went up high and now drops down with Irvan, and he may have touched Earnhardt.
But here comes Waltrip on the inside, but he's by himself down there.
Here comes Hunt Strickland with him. Strickland on the bottom. Irvan and Earnhardt may have touched.
Here comes Kenny Schrader looking 3D.
Can't do it there. Out of turn 4, they'll have one more shot at the tri-oval at Ernie Irvan. Earnhardt comes down. Waltrip goes right down to the track apron and heading for home. Give it to Irvan. They are 3 wide for 3rd.
You know, me and Dale kind of pinched each other in that first turn, but I made it out of it.
190-mile-per-hour chess game. Here they come for the tri-oval. Down in the final lap. The first die-hard 500 victory for car number 4. And Ernie Irvan hauls him off to take it home. It is car number 4, Ernie Irvan, scoring his 3rd win of the season.
Not often you see a car get a lap down. Ernie Irvan got a lap down early in the race when he had a flat tire, but made it up, came back and won the race.
Ernie's aggressive, and you know he admittedly follows Earnhardt's path, you know, the way that Earnhardt drives. It's Kowicki on the high side, taking it back, and here comes Ernie Irvan on the rim ride. Irvan in the yellow number 4. Oh, it's sideways. Gets it? No, he does not. He's in the wall. Hard. Back to the stripe. That was lap 3 complete. Listen to this.
Getting on the outside, going in there outside of Davey. It's up in the higher groove.
Did they touch a little bit, he and Davey, maybe?
They did right there.
It's kind of amazing. You went through the same corner, didn't hit no oil, and Davey did, huh? Well, is that what supposedly happened? 10-4. I hit oil. He said he hit oil. That's the reason he got up in here.
Well, I guess everybody else is just much superior drivers than he was.
I guess so. I think the TV said that Mulhern come over here and said that the TV clearly shows that he got sideways and got all over you.
Well, you know, I knew that. I mean, and that can happen, but to say he got in oil, that sounds like a wimpy excuse to me.
Irvan's relationship with Davey Allison was complicated. Following the Michigan run-in, NASCAR went to Indianapolis for a tire test. Ernie and Davey had to be separated in the garage as they loudly argued over the crash.
But for the last 3 years here, he has earned more points.
Oh, crash! Davey Allison is in the crash, Bob. Ernie Irvan, and it's all over for Davey Allison.
No, it's not over yet. I don't think he hit him that hard, maybe.
Well, he hit pretty well, I think.
There, Ernie goes up high. We see the 4 car, and all of a sudden the car just goes around. He loses control. When he saves it, he comes back right in front of Davey Allison. I think that was the only 2 cars involved in the crash.
An image car of Ernie Irvan now is removed from the front straightaway right at the start-finish line here in Atlanta.
Despite losing the championship, Davey stayed in the infield care center until he checked that Ernie was okay. 1 week after the race, Ernie and Kim were married.
Earnhardt, Jarrett, Irvan.
There are 58 laps left in this race. Ernie Irvan, Tony Glover, engine builder Runt Pittman and their crew feel they can go the distance from here. Barely. So they brought Irvan in now.
And there's trouble on the backstretch.
It's Ernie Irvan's car that's slapped into the wall.
And Davey.
Oh, and Ernie Irvan spins hard, crashes in the wall up in turn 1.
There he is. Bristol bites another top contender.
We understand that Ernie Irvan's car may be overheating.
Bad news for Ernie Irvan, who is running in second place. The water temperature had gone up to 240 degrees. Ernie sitting on pit road, a very bad break for the Kodak Film Chevrolet crew.
Off of turn number 4 into the tri-oval once again. Dale Earnhardt leads Rusty Wallace as the white flag comes out. One more lap to go, and Martin is way up high and hits the wall and shoves Rusty down to the middle of the track.
Man, oh man.
And Irvan is there right on Earnhardt's bumper, and Irvan goes to the inside of Dale Earnhardt.
And the white flag is out. Here comes Martin. Martin, he's going with Ernie.
Here they come off the 4th corner. Ernie Irvan leads them down now. Is he going to win the Winston 500? Jimmy Spencer is second. They come through the tri-oval. Checkered is waving. Ernie Irvan wins, and Rusty spins and gets airborne and flips wildly right at the start-finish line. Very reminiscent of his accident at Daytona.
Man, I tell you what, when it comes down to a shootout, I wouldn't trade Ernie Irvan for anybody in the world. I tell you, he's a...
One day before the July race at New Hampshire, Ernie and Davey Allison spent a lot of time together at the track and at dinner. Ernie later said, quote, "I can honestly say that Loudon we became really good friends. I am very grateful that I was given that opportunity to become friends with him and see him in a different light."
The world of stock car racing is mourning the death of a daredevil tonight. A 32-year-old legend in the making died this morning from injuries suffered in a helicopter crash.
This morning, the 32-year-old Allison died from a fatal head injury after his helicopter crashed.
After attending Allison's funeral, the next Cup race was at Pocono. On Saturday night, he was contacted by Ford to see if he would be interested in driving the number 28 car. While Ernie was winning races at Morgan McClure, he felt they would never be a championship team. He suffered the 5th mechanical failure of the year and left Pocono just 11th in points.
Here comes Irvan.
Man, look at Irvan coming up through there on the inside.
Yep, all that battling, and here comes LaJoy and Leslie. They caught him. This changes things. 1 lap to go.
Boy, they can't do it if they run side by side. Earnhardt's going to win this thing. They got to go now. Here went Ernie.
Yep. Tracy Leslie got into him.
It's set down, but it's going to take a lick on that inside wall.
Irvan to the fence.
Final lap, Kyle dropped to the bottom. Irvan goes up on top. Kyle pushes it hard.
I guarantee Irvin's going to go 3 wide to the bottom with Jared. There's that bottom lane open for him.
All right, this is the run for the money. Last lap. Irvan there on the inside. Earnhardt on the outside. Here they come. Irvan on the inside.
That shortcut on the inside is going to be of some help.
As they come to the line, dead even.
I don't know. I think
like the 3.
I think Earnhardt won the race.
Give it to Earnhardt. Dale Earnhardt has done it again.
In August, Ernie welcomed the birth of his daughter, Jordan.
Getting around Dale Earnhardt, and here's Ernie Irvan. Looked like he's slowing down.
He was running an 11th spot.
With an offer in place to drive the 28 car for Robert Yates in 1994, the only thing holding him back was his contract with Morgan McClure, the one he signed after just one race in 1990. But contracts can be broken, and so can a lot of other things.
When we got to Bristol, I asked Ernie, and he said, yep, I'm going. I said, and you can't stop me. I said, what do you mean? I said, I got a 5-year contract. He said, 2 years remaining. He said, well, let me tell you something, Larry. Well, I got it figured. I'm in control of the steering wheel, the gas pedal, and the clutch pedal. You can't afford to keep me. And I'll show you. And he did.
Man, Ernie Irvan is spun down the back straightaway. He hits the wall just a little bit. I don't think there's a lot of damage.
And Irvan just out there by himself. The back end breaks loose, similar to the way when he qualified this afternoon that put him back there, had to take a provisional spot to get in the field. The car just broke loose right in that same spot, almost that same spot.
And this is a backup car. Ned said he didn't make the field with his qualifying. His first lap wasn't fast enough to make the field. On his second qualifying lap, he spun, crashed the car, and had to go to this car at backup.
We have a little bit of contact in turn 1. A lot of smoke out of the Kodak Chevrolet. And it is pulling to the pits on the backstretch. Smoke coming from behind it.
Well, they blew 3 engines that weekend.
The blown engines at Bristol were especially painful, considering the track was the team's home race. In his book, Ernie disputed the idea he gave anything less than 100%, writing, quote, once Larry McClure realized I was leaving, the atmosphere in the shop turned ugly, and for several weeks stayed that way. Larry and I wouldn't talk to each other. It was a bad situation, though I can honestly say the unpleasantness never affected the way I drove the car for him. Just a few days after Bristol, Ernie was released from his contract, believing that Ford had bought out the contract from Morgan McClure.
And there has been a significant driver change in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. Earlier in the weekend, it was announced that Ernie Irvan, who was supposed to drive the car next year, would in fact take over as of today. We talk with car owner Robert Yates.
There was no enticement to get him to drive the car, but certainly we expect him to run the car well, and we feel he will. Our responsibility is to make it a good car, because he's, in his words of saying it's a championship team, we have a lot to live up to for what Ernie's opened his mouth about.
Ernie, this week you're in the news a lot, and we just heard Robert Yates say there was no enticement for you to come over there, but successful 3.5 years with the Kodak team, Morgan McClure, why make a change?
Well, I tell you, Jerry, the biggest thing you got to remember is we never asked to leave now. It was always at the end of the year. But, my idea was to move on to a different team. Robert Yates' race team is a championship caliber team right now. And, the Morgan McClure team's an awful good race team. I just feel I needed to do something a little different to put myself in the hunt to win the championship.
And qualified the first time in the Haviland Ford in 10th spot, so he'll be his usual aggressive self at this very tough racetrack.
As Irvan continues to hound Dale Earnhardt, but so far Ernie has not been able to lead a lap. Got a good run going here. Let's see if he can in turn 1. Yes. Irvan last led at Michigan on the 15th of August. This is the 13th race where he has led at least 1 lap.
But Earnhardt's coming back.
Now, who's going to outbrave the other one going into this turn? Irvan backs off. Let's Earnhardt go. Now let's see if he'll slip up under and pull an Earnhardt trick here. He's going to try.
He's trying it.
The crowd is loving it.
Ernie takes a look on the inside. He's going to make the pass. Now will he slide up and Earnhardt dip back under him?
Yep.
Sure did. You know it's going to come.
Here he comes alongside Earnhardt again on the backstretch.
Yeah, but Earnhardt do that same thing when he get up there to turn 3. Watch Earnhardt back off right there. Irvin would go in there, then Earnhardt drive right under him.
But meanwhile, Martin and Bodine have both caught Irvin and Earnhardt.
Another same situation. Here we go. Ernie, you got to back off a little bit. When Earnhardt backs off right here, you got to back off too.
Now Brett Bodine slips into third under Mark Martin. And up front, same thing is happening. There goes Earnhardt.
Oh, here comes Ernie. Back again. This is wonderful.
Yeah, it's good. And Brett Bodine is the silent partner of this battle.
I think Dale Earnhardt looked up in his mirror and said, uh-oh, uh-oh. That's a little nudge to say, Ernie, you didn't give me any room.
A little love tap. And the unofficial results of this event here today. Ernie Irvan in his debut with the Haviland team is 5th. Well, Ernie Irvan is within now 14 laps of winning his first race with the Robert Yates-owned Texaco Haviland Ford team. The white flag waves for Ernie Irvan, who's less than a half a mile away from his first victory with this team. Here is a big win for Ernie Irvan and for the Robert Yates, Larry McReynolds, Texaco Haviland Ford team.
This is very emotional.
Ernie, congratulations on an outstanding effort, a dominating day.
Well, I tell you, it's pretty emotional. Whole time I kept thinking, you know, Davey never made it to victory lane here. Bobby never has. And everybody had their own idea what they wanted to do for victory lane. I've been wearing this shirt since I started driving this car. I knew we could do it. This is for Davey.
Out in front by about 3 seconds, it's Ernie Irvan. He's going to take this thing home. Final corners now. Here they come for the finish. Here's your winner to the stripe. That is Irvan. And there you see Larry McReynolds. Glasses on. What a great gentleman he is and what a job he's done. A kid that came out of an Alabama junkyard, loves racing cars, and has helped develop that 28 into the great winning car that it is.
Did the ignition problems ever go away entirely?
Well, they would go away and then they would come back again. The last 4 laps I started missing again. I started switching switches again. They haven't told me what all them switches are for yet, but I switched a couple of them that seemed to go away, so I must have hit the right one.
And definitely we want to try to do what Dale did this year and move up farther up these tables. If it's where Dale's at next year, that'll be fine, but if it's not, we're going to work real hard.
The intense look on pit road necessary because qualifying is so important here at Daytona. In the first qualifying race, it's Ernie Irvan who takes the early lead. Mark Martin is in tow. Irvan led the first half of the race. Ernie Irvan overtook Rusty Wallace. Less than 10 laps left. He would never relinquish the lead.
And there's a spin over off turn 2. We've got a problem with car number 47, that's Stanbridge. Get loose, and here come the leaders trying to get through, and they make it.
He is stopped right in the middle of the racetrack. Ernie Irvan had to go high because a lap car went down low.
The race would go green for one final lap, and Irvan holds on, beating Wallace and Mark Martin.
When they throw the green flag, we're ready to race. And, you know, whether it's a point race or the Busch Clash or Gatorade Twin 125s, this is what it's all about. You got to do the best you can on each occasion, and winning's what it's all about. That's what we try to do.
It's Earnhardt in second, Irvan up in front. We were watching and we were riding with Ernie Irvan. Listen and watch to what happens.
Boy, he is really fighting that steering wheel, Ken. He dropped back from the lead.
He told the crew the car just got real loose on him in turn 4, and he decided just to get out of there and let him go so the next caution wouldn't be him.
Last lap to decide it all. Sterling Marlin stays first, Ernie Irvan in second. Here they come down the stretch for the final time. It is Sterling Marlin in the lead. Down to the inside comes the 28. Coming to the line. Sterling Marlin's going to win it. Ernie Irvan, who left the Morgan McClure ride to go with the 28 team of Robert Yates, is defeated by that team. And Sterling Marlin wins his first Winston Cup victory. Ernie Irvan stays out in front, going for his 10th Winston Cup victory. Ernie Irvan staying up in front in the final moments of this race with some brilliant pit stops, is coming down to win the Pontiac Excitement 400.
Irvan has the car in the third and fourth turns now. Coming on to the straightaway, heading for the checkered flag for the second consecutive time in 1994, and going further into the lead in the point standings. Ernie Irvan wins the Purolator 500.
Dadgummit, there's a second win. You're going to get to see him do a backwards victory lap here. Well, I tell you, Larry said, he said, that's our first win here at Atlanta ever with this race team. He said, it's our first time ever to win 2 in a row. He said, I think that deserves a Polish victory lap. And I said, I can give you one. He said, make sure you do a good burnout on the start-finish line.
34-year-old Ernie Irvan gets his second win of 1994. He's in victory lane.
Is Ernie Irvan in the Texaco Haviland Ford, qualifying at 91.514, not a new record.
Hey, I'll tell you, don't often see a car that dominant in NASCAR Winston Cup competition.
Off of corner number 11, Ernie Irvan sees the checkered flag waving, and Ernie Irvan crosses the line and wins his third race of 1994 and registers his 12th career win in his 186th start.
And Ernie, this crowd from not far from where he's from, Modesto, California. Ernie, congratulations.
Salinas, California.
Salinas, okay, I'm sorry. Modesto's a suburb of Salinas. Ernie keeps correcting me. Ernie, congratulations.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, this is America. I mean, you can come from California, go back east, go racing, and come back to California and win. So that's a neat thing. I owe a lot of thanks to a lot of people. And
White flag, 1 to go. Then the caution comes out, and then the 10-lap shootout.
Look at the 28 car trying to get by, go down on the outside. I don't think he'll make that move, but look at him make that move across the grass.
Through the grass, he's gone.
Oh, man.
I want to tell you what a big heart this guy's at, what he's got. First thing he did after he crashed that car was to come down here and apologize to his pit crew. Ernie, what a way to go out.
well, it's one of them. I just made a mistake. I shouldn't have tried to pass him like that. I always think, one of them deals where I forgot about the big picture and was worried about that one lap.
Well, I think we'll see Ernie around for the big picture for a long, long time. Tough break.
Tough words from a tough guy and a fellow who has really matured as a race driver, right? I think if you had to put money on somebody to win this championship this year, that would be a strong pick right there, Ernie Irvan.
NASCAR has come to Indianapolis in the inaugural Brickyard 400.
Well, Benny, what's happening, Bob? Jeff Gordon is radioing in that he's got a problem. The problem is, as you said, every time that Ernie Irvan gets up to the rear decklet, he gets extremely loose. He was pleading those last 2 laps that he had to let him go by. And that looks like what might be happening right now.
Once again, Irvan moves to the inside and challenges Jeff down the backstretch.
Jeff just will not let go, Bob. He will not let go. He says, I'm going to win this race, but this time he does.
And now the question is Ernie going to be able to pull away?
It's going to be tough on those crewmen. Oh, here we go. Ernie slipped 1 and 1. Ernie slipped, and Jeff Ford gets alongside. Something's wrong with Ernie. Something has happened to the 28 car, Bob.
Irvan slows down and is going to lose second position. Irvan drops off the pace, and now Brett Bodine goes into second. Ernie Irvan heads for the warm-up lane, and Jeff Gordon has the lead.
Bob, Ernie Irvan has picked up on him quite a bit. I think Mark is perhaps just being conservative, but Ernie has gained on him quite a bit, but I don't think he's going to be able to do much with it.
And Mark Martin wins his 13th career victory and his first of 1994. Mark Martin wins the Bud of the Glen.
After 20 races, it was a 2-man race for the Winston Cup Championship, with Irvan only 27 points behind Dale Earnhardt. And a lot of people felt the remaining 11 races favored Irvan. In the 10 tracks left that NASCAR had raced at early in the season, Irvan had outscored Earnhardt by 58 points. The Michigan weekend started poorly for Irvan. On Thursday, Ernie qualified 22nd for the Busch Series race to be held on Saturday. The next day, he qualified 19th for the Cup race. The Saturday morning Cup practice gave a chance for the team to improve the car for an important race on Sunday.
It was an early practice, just like practice always is at Michigan on Saturday morning, and him and I talked about making a 10-lap run. And I think he was feeling some stuff out about the car, and a lot of times Ernie would do this. If we talked about making a 10-lap run, he'd run 11 laps. If we talked about making a 25-lap run, he'd go and run one more lap just to try to get that last feel for the race car to come in and start working on it. He went down the front stretch, he completed that 10th lap. Just as I anticipated, he was going to run that 11th lap, or at least the next part of the corner of that 11th lap. And as he went down the front stretch, I said, to give him his lap time, and I said, pretty obvious we're going to have to work on that thing. It's pretty tight.
He ran his 10th lap and said that it was pushing a little bit. So Larry came on the radio and told him, he says, okay. He says, why don't you come in? And he says, I'm going to run one more lap. And then the next thing I knew, he was in the wall. And I told Larry, and Larry thought it was somebody else. He didn't know it was us. And nobody else on the truck saw it but me.
And it was real foggy that morning, real hazy. And I was writing lap times down, and I seen Raymond Fox waving his hands like cautions on the racetrack. And I keyed my mic, and I said, Ernie, caution.
At 8:40 a.m. this morning, the first Winston Cup practice session, Ernie Irvan slammed the second turn concrete wall.
With his injuries so severe, the medical helicopter was flown directly to the backstretch. Among his injuries, a crushed larynx that prevented him from breathing. While a normal person's blood oxygen level is around 95%, track doctor John Mano at the crash site found Irvan at 15%. Mano performed an emergency tracheotomy and restored airflow to Irvan's lungs. Irvan suffered several injuries, any one of which could have been fatal. A basilar skull fracture, which caused massive blood loss, severe brain bruising, but the most serious injuries were a bruised heart and 2 collapsed lungs. His survival through the night depended on his heart and lung function stabilizing.
Somebody wanted percentages, and he said, well, at the best, I can give him his 10% to survive the night, to even live at all.
As he lay in bed with tubes and machines keeping him alive, Kim put Jordan's shoe in Ernie's hand and felt there was improvement.
It's a gray, cloudy day at the Michigan International Speedway, which fits the mood of those in attendance here. One of NASCAR's brightest stars, Ernie Irvan, is clinging on to life in a Michigan hospital. He crashed the Robert Yates Haviland Ford hard into the Turn 2 wall yesterday during a practice run. It resulted in a fractured skull, injured lungs, and other injuries. He is listed in critical condition.
Dr. Errol Erlinson issued an update on Ernie, and he, of course, remains on life support in the intensive care unit. What the doctors have tried to make us all understand that the brain injury is a neurological injury, and it's difficult to set a timetable for improvement or even complete prognosis.
It's just, it's a tragedy, and in this business you don't have very many friends, and I don't plan on losing this one, and I just want to ask everybody out there to say a prayer for Ernie.
400 here at Michigan International Speedway. We will bring to an end a very emotional weekend here at this facility. And of course, we again say that Ernie Irvan remains in critical condition, but we will be thinking of him and praying for him this coming week.
The news last Saturday night was pretty grim. This evening, serious but stable has never sounded so good. Irvan's condition has been upgraded. It was critical.
This week, the NASCAR Winston Cup Tour moves to the High Bank Oval in Bristol, Tennessee. But all thoughts still focus on the incredible recovery of injured driver Ernie Irvan. Last week when he was injured, some doctors gave Ernie less than a 20% chance of survival. But the recovery has been just incredible. In fact, they're already talking about weaning him off the ventilator. He's able to move all his extremities, his arms and legs, to command. He's able to follow objects with his eyes. In fact, he even lurched forward earlier this week to greet drivers Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin, who came up to visit.
I don't really remember getting up that morning. I don't remember any of the wreck. And for about 15 days later, just 15 to 19 days later, is the first time I remember something. What I recall kind of remembering is actually watching the race at Richmond on TV.
Got one car down. It's 28, Kenny Wallace. Yellow is out.
I started asking Kim, about the accident, and she could only tell me as much as she knew, and how I was injured, and And why this, or why am I, laying in this bed? I mean, I didn't remember any of that. So the first thing I started saying is, okay, well, when are we going to be able to, race in a little, is it going to be a week before I get to go racing again, or what? And she kept telling me that, no, we're just worried about you being able to live the rest of your life instead of worrying about racing. And I said, well, we're going to go racing again. I'm just going to have to start figuring out, where we're at on this situation.
Ernie was moved to a rehab clinic in Charlotte, where he practiced his hand-eye control by driving a remote control version of his car. He would chase the nurses with the car and drive it in and out of his room.
Hello.
Rusty.
Yes.
Hey, congratulations, man. It was a great race.
Thank you very much, man.
This Ernie.
Ernie, buddy, we're pulling for you, man. I'll tell you what, your car ran good today.
Yeah, Kenny did a great job.
Yeah, well, heck, we're all talking about you. We're all looking forward to getting back. Man, you're making it easy for me right now. When you were around, it was hard, boy, I tell you.
Yeah, I tell you, we had some great races there at Martinsville. I'm going to be at Charlotte, so I'm going to be there to watch you anyway.
Well, great, man. It's good seeing you. I tell you what, we're gonna have a lot more races come Daytona. Is that right?
Yeah, I hope so.
I don't care if we need to see out our toes. We're going to be there, man.
Thanks.
Ernie, are you there?
Kenny.
Hey, buddy.
Did a great job today.
Well, man, you finished second. You won last time here. I finished fourth, so you're still the greatest, and we could get back in here.
I tell you, you did a great job today, and these guys needed some pumping up, so I'm glad you did it.
Well, thank you. I just want you to know, Ernie, that, man, as soon as you get back, I hope you take a seat out of this race car. I know how hard it is for you, but we all love you.
Ernie's outlook went from bleak while laying in that Michigan hospital to bright when he made it back to the garage area at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, a mere 6 weeks after that near-fatal accident.
Being back at the racetrack just meant a lot, and this is the place that I like being. This is like home to me.
With a smile on his face, Ernie got to visit with his old buddies. Some were even a bit envious.
Earnhardt told me he wanted a patch like I had, because he said that's supposed to be the new thing. So I'm kind of hoping all the fans will start wearing a patch, and so I won't feel like the odd man out.
And just 6 weeks after almost losing his own life, it was with just a smile that Ernie Irvan breathed a whole lot of life back into the racing world.
Feeling really good. 2 weeks ago I didn't really think I'd be feeling this good, but everything's really shaping up, and sure like to be here racing.
When he returned to the track, Ernie looked like his usual self, except that he was wearing an eye patch over his left eye. He had suffered nerve damage to his eye and had trouble focusing or moving it. Because his left eye was pointing at a different angle, he developed double vision.
Well, I tell you, my health has really gone really good, and the doctors keep saying it's even more of a miracle because of how fast I've been recovering, and I'll probably be in better shape in about another month than I ever have been.
Well, the word is that he's working out, folks. He's even playing a little racquetball, and with wife Kim and daughter Jordan by his side pushing him, there's a good chance that we might see Ernie Irvan back in a race car very soon, and that indeed is wonderful news.
In the first week of January, Ford teams were testing at Daytona. It was at this moment that Ernie made his return in secret.
But by January, Ernie was actually doing pretty good. And we were down there testing at Daytona.
I mean, I just was like bound and determined that I had to get in a race car. And I just was like, man, I gotta get in this thing. I got to drive it. Robert and Larry are like, I mean, there's no way you can do that. So I'm telling you, I can do that. So we come up with this wild idea to say, okay, because they said no matter what, NASCAR won't let us do that.
And you know how the old garages used to be, and you could kind of spread out in there and not be right on top of each other, because all that was there was Fords. And we were kind of in that one back garage there, kind of in the back. And I can't believe we schemed this plan. Pulled our team van in the garage area to kind of block the rest of the garage area.
So our scam is Dale Jarrett had went out and practiced, and so he come in and got out of the car with helmet on and everything and went into the transporter. I come out with the helmet on and everything, same helmet, same uniform, same everything, and so I got in there and got in the car and backed out. Nobody even knew nothing, and backed out, went on the racetrack, and had no problem about getting to speed, and that's how easy Daytona is. And I mean, I was the same speed that Dale was, but that's what the car was. So
I mean, we were probably not very smart doing that. I mean, he had not really been released, but he wanted to do it. And you know what? We wanted to let him do it. And I never will. When I finally saw that thing coming off the racetrack, it felt like the weight of the world, because I'm telling you, if you'd have thumped me, I'd have probably split in half while he was out there making these laps.
It just gave me a lot of ambition and hope.
Irvan first targeted his comeback for the spring, perhaps at Sears Point, where he was the defending winner. But in late April, Ernie was diagnosed with an aneurysm in a neck artery, which was pinching the nerves that controlled eye movement and caused his double vision. Over the summer, he had several surgeries to repair the aneurysm and fix the muscles controlling eye movement. Finally, he was given full approval to return to racing in September.
Back at Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia, we told you that this weekend is very special. One of the most incredible comebacks in all of sports history. Ernie Irvan 13 months ago, a 10% chance of surviving, but now he's back in a race car.
Yeah, Winston Cup stock car hero Ernie Irvan was expecting to make his return to competition. Indeed, Ernie climbed in the number 28 truck and was one of the fastest in practice for the NASCAR Craftsman Super Truck Series race. Unfortunately, rains moved into the speedway on Saturday and stayed throughout the qualifying and the scheduled truck race itself. As a result, Ernie will have to wait until next weekend at North Wilkesboro to return to competition. Now, as Ernie prepares to return to the sport that left him so badly hurt, some inevitably questioned that decision, but not McReynolds. Larry understands, even though he and the crew do fear for Ernie's safety.
Well, certainly we do, but Dave, he's not going to be happy doing anything else. And if a person's not happy, is it worth not taking the risk? You know, he wasn't going to be happy just being a car owner or a truck owner. He wasn't going to be happy just being a consultant to drivers. What makes Ernie Irvan happy is driving a race car. He realizes that and knows that. His wife realizes that. As much as I don't want to see him get hurt or have a problem, it's like that's what makes Ernie happy, so it's worth taking the risk with him.
North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And it is official. Ernie Irvan is back in racing. He put that pirate patch over his left eye, went out and qualified second in the truck, seventh in the Winston Cup car, and he is laps ahead of anybody else here in terms of interviews granted this weekend. It has truly been a heartwarming return for a tremendous individual.
You made a believer out of me really quick. I mean, second on today's row in the Super Truck race. Tomorrow you're going to be seventh. I think you got a bunch of fans. Even the Dale Earnhardt fans are cheering you.
And Ernie Irvan is taking a lead, and look at the people. They're going nuts.
How about Ernie?
So this is a switch. Most cars use one spotter. Ernie, in fact, has two.
In case you've just returned from outer space and haven't heard the news, Ernie, of course, has double vision as a result of a head injury that he suffered at Michigan. His left eye does not yet function correctly. He has double vision, and so he covers the left eye with a patch and, in fact, races with one eye. So peripheral vision off the left side of the truck is a big concern, and Sprague is perhaps trying to take advantage of that blind spot, although Ernie's doing a good job of covering it. Let's go back and get an update on the Ernie Irvan story.
Well, you can tell by the man's out of the cockpit that the day is over. What put you out?
Well, we probably tried to do too much on the halftime, trying to make the truck better, and just didn't get it done. And, you know, probably going to take another 10 minutes to get it right. So, man, we'll just have another day.
It is a gorgeous day in terms of the weather, and it is a very special day for all of us that enjoy auto racing. It is the return of Ernie Irvan. The Tyson Holly Farms 400 is underway. The 88 car, driven by Ernie Irvan, is in the lead. Second place is Dale Earnhardt and Mark Martin. And his 17th career victory for Mark Martin, winner of the Tyson Holly Farms 400.
This is not victory lane, but you might really think it really would be for Ernie Irvan. Ernie, a big smile. Congratulations on an outstanding effort.
I tell you, this is great. You know, everybody wonders why Ernie Irvan wanted to come back to racing. This is what it's all about. You know, I had a ball out there racing and racing with all my buddies and competitors and the people that have been so supportive and these fans. I mean, this is nothing more exciting than out here racing like this.
After North Wilkesboro, Ernie began wearing glasses with prism lenses, which corrected the angle of vision in his left eye and meant he didn't have to wear the eye patch anymore. After the season ended, he again underwent surgery to repair his eye muscles and restored his vision to where it should be.
Most everybody got 4 tires. Ernie Irvan took on only 2, and he is the leader. Well, if you've been watching the battle for the lead, is there any doubt that Ernie Irvan is back?
Not up here. You look in that rearview mirror and you see Ernie catching you as you drive in that hard. He's got to know that 88 car of Ernie Irvan is flying right there with the Texaco.
Smoke from Irvan's car. He's done.
Now on a day where we've crowned a series champion and a race champion, here's a true champion. What a great day. Thanks for the thrills, Ernie.
Well, I tell you, thanks for all the fan support and, the people that believed in Ernie Irvan.
Before a man goes to war, he prepares both his body and his mind. He thinks of the past, but he remembers the future, and that he must face his fears if he is to live his dreams.
.527 seconds, 189.366. It is good enough for second position.
Into 3, side by side. Ford on the inside, Chevy on the outside. Ernie Irvan leading by about 6 inches. Back comes Schrader. Here they come for the finish. They touch. They come to the line. Ernie Irvan pulls it off.
The start-finish line coming down.
And 3 wide. Marlin to the inside. But Schrader makes a move. Ooh, almost touched on the number 3.
Here comes Earnhardt back on the outside, trying to get back up to the lead. Oh, we have contact. Ernie Irvan into the wall.
Ernie Irvan getting slack coming out of the tri-oval and lifting. A lot of smoke pouring out of that car.
Come on, Dale. Put it in the middle, buddy. Do all you can. Winning 2 Daytona 500s will be too much. Here he comes to the line, and Dale Jarrett is going to pull it off at Daytona, his second Daytona 500 win.
Don't push the issue here. You've got a comfortable lead. You've got 4 laps to go. Let's just give yourself a little bit of a room in case something happens in front of you there.
But the tensions are definitely high. These guys getting ready to celebrate, and deservedly so. It's almost over for Ernie Irvan.
Ernie Irvan trying to become the 7th different driver to win here in 1996.
Eli, there's about 110,000 people that are on their feet right now cheering Ernie Irvan on.
Well, if you don't have goosebumps on your legs and arms now, you don't have feelings, is all I can tell you.
Taking it easy now. He's got a 6-second lead. Since Sears Point in May of '94, and near life-threatening injuries since, Ernie Irvan battled back. He's now a quarter mile from capping off that comeback. The fans going wild. Ernie Irvan, he's back in victory lane. And look at the celebration of the Texaco Haviland pit area.
I don't know what to even really say. This is a long way from that hospital in Michigan back in August '94, and we knew we had it. I mean, what a great day for Robert Yates Racing, 1-2, and man, how about Ernie? Is he not smooth?
Go on up with him, Ernie.
Yes!
Ernie Irvan back in victory lane. First time since his injuries. Glenn Jarrett, it's all yours.
Thanks a lot, Eli. And I tell you what, this thrills me to death to be the first person to talk to you. First of all, welcome back to Victory Lane, and I wasn't sure you were going to get here.
I tell you, I did like Larry wanted to oppose victory lap, and that's an honor of Alan Quickie and Davey Allison. And, you know, it's great what we've been able to do, and it's not just me, it's the whole race team.
Well, Ernie, I got to ask you, those last few laps when you came back out and everybody, those pit stops cycled around, you were in the lead. I bet those last 20, 30 laps were a long time.
Well, they were, but I just stayed focused on what I had to do and didn't really think about winning until the last lap. It's amazing that we made it back to victory lane, and, you know, Daytona was great, but this is where it's all about, the Winston Cup.
It's just about the same distance between first and second every time. So if Ernie Irvan is going to pass Dale Jarrett, he is going to have to find something that he has not displayed the last 4 or 5 laps. And the caution comes out. We're going to end this event under caution, it would appear. This will be the race to the flag, really, determining the winner. Dale Jarrett is coming through corner number 3.
Here he comes.
Corner 4, the caution flag waves, but there's just one more lap to go, and Dale Jarrett is going to win it. And Robert Yates is the owner of the 2 cars that finished first and second.
And back in turn 1, Jeff Gordon. He's closed up. He's on the back bumper with a lap and a half to go.
Whoa, don't go away. Who's going to win it? He got out.
Gordon almost made the contact with the wall.
Way high coming out of turn number 2. Let's see if he makes a bid in turn 4. Gordon tries, bobbles, doesn't quite flag out. One more lap to go. Irvan now stretches it out a little. Gordon has another run on him, though, on the low side of turn number 2. They're down the backstretch, and Gordon cannot make any headway. It looks like that Ernie Irvan may have him. They're in the 3rd and 4th turns again. Gordon closes in. Here they come off the corner to the line. It's Ernie Irvan winning the Miller 400 over Jeff Gordon.
Wow. Irvan's biggest challenge of the year was trying to keep up with a new teammate who was outperforming him, but a scary moment at Charlotte in October threatened to derail a good season.
Definitely does. Got trouble. Ernie Irvan is in the wall. Oh, got snagged again, and savage crash.
Right, you got Robbie Gordon gathered up. That's John Andretti, I'm sorry.
John Andretti. Yeah. And it gets deathly quiet around the Charlotte Motor Speedway after a hard crash in that corner. Crowd tensing as they saw the brutal conclusion of that incident.
Ernie didn't respond over the team radio. The crowd went silent as safety workers treated him. Fortunately, he only suffered a slight concussion and finished 4th the next race at Rockingham. At the end of November came the surprising news that Larry McReynolds was leaving Robert Yates Racing. When Yates added the second 88 team for Dale Jarrett, McReynolds was supposed to oversee both teams. But according to Irvan, Jarrett's team often acted independently and didn't want to freely share information. Larry worked to exhaustion, trying to bridge the gap between teams and go even faster. Ernie wrote, quote, "It was like he had 2 extension cords, and they weren't quite long enough to reach each other, but if he pulled them hard enough and held them, he could keep them plugged together." By the end of the year, Larry's hands gave out. The disillusionment with the team's structure drove McReynolds across the garage to work for Richard Childress Racing and try to lead Dale Earnhardt to a record 8th championship. Days later, Ernie made a simple mistake at the awards banquet that added to the team's downfall.
But there's so many people that I need to thank just because of everything that we went through, my family and Robert Yates and the whole Robert Yates family. But I really need to thank Ford Motor Company for their support, continued support, NASCAR and RJR. There's no better. Also need to thank Ray Bestas for their support. They came on with us from my comeback car and continue on. Got to really thank all the guys in the shop. They've done a tremendous job, and all the guys in the motor shop for producing the most power in Winston Cup racing. Also need to thank the best car owner in Winston Cup racing, Robert Yates and Carolyn Yates and you know, their family, their support has been tremendous. Also need to thank my wife for her continued support. It's been unbelievable what she's been able to do for me. Also need to thank Jordan too, because she's the light of our life. Also, last but not least, we need to thank God, because without him behind us, nothing would ever happen. Thank you.
Ernie forgot to thank Texaco in his speech. While this may seem insignificant, the Texaco executives in attendance were surprisingly outraged. Ernie quickly apologized at their table, but as he wrote in his book, quote, one of the executives could barely contain his anger. He told Robert Yates right then and there that he didn't want my contract renewed when it expired at the end of the '97 season, over a simple thank you. While Robert Yates stood up for Ernie Irvan in that moment, it underscored a growing divide between Irvan and Texaco. Irvan's comeback could have been a horrible failure, and looking back, he believed the brand was overly hesitant to embrace him on his return. I'm sure there must have been some concern about whether or not I would ever be able to win races again, he said. There was no reasonable guarantee that I could win. If you were betting conservatively, then you don't take a chance on promoting the comeback of somebody who might not come back. As a result, my comeback was pretty much wasted as a promotion vehicle. Very little of Texaco's advertising featured Ernie, and if it did, it was embarrassingly brief.
Andretti and Yates rely on the same Haviland Formula 3 motor oil you can buy right off the shelf. And also try Haviland Extended Life Antifreeze.
She's a real beauty, Robert. Gotta drive her, Mario.
Ernie remembered a trip to the Texaco headquarters in 1996 and couldn't find any pictures of him on display. It was though we were Texaco's stepchildren, he said. It was really odd and unfair. I suspect someone important at Texaco wasn't sold on me from the beginning. That's the only explanation we can come up with to understand why things evolved as they did. Even without Larry McReynolds, Irvan's '97 season started well, as he was reunited with Mark Reno as crew chief, but bad luck spoiled finishes.
Here goes a pass. Gordon making a move on the inside of Earnhardt. Oh, Jarrett's loose.
Down the back straightaway. Big trouble. Earnhardt out. So there's Ernie Irvan's car. It's in trouble. A dramatic turnaround, and look at the abuse as the Earnhardt car flipped over the 28. He went over the top.
He may have him here coming up. Oh, and a car in the wall is Ernie Irvan. Is there a caution? There will be, I'm sure. Yes, the caution is out.
It's going to be a race back to the line.
7 laps to go when they come around. Oh, they've got Ernie right there in front of him. Here they come off the corner. Rusty goes low. Jarrett high. Who crossed the line? Oh, and
tough break for Ernie, running in the 4th position. Had run a great race all day long. Here's the Jeff Gordon and Ernie Irvan situation. Here's Irvan trying to get his lap back. Ooh, runs right in the back of Greg Sachs as Ernie was trying to catch the car number 5 of Terry Labonte, who was leading the race. Then Gordon, of course, comes up and hits Ernie Irvan.
Ernie, you okay? Yeah. What happened? He doesn't want to talk for obvious reasons. Ernie Irvan just pushed off and headed to the garage.
Ernie Irvan's got to be looking in the mirror going, go ahead and race that hard. I'm moving away. In about 10 laps, he has a half a straightaway lead, Eli.
Mark Martin in the 4th spot.
Oh, there goes the 28 car.
Oh, no. 28 is in the wall. Holy cow. Ricky Rudd is the race leader now as he gets by.
Eli, I thought my eyes were playing tricks. I looked up and he was going round and round, going into turn 1. He lost it and backed it up into the wall.
Famine that's reached 76 races for Bill Elliott could be over today. But Ernie Irvan, he's down on the inside. He's got his own scores to settle. Ernie Irvan, particularly with this track that nearly cost him his life. It cost him a year in recuperation, battling for the lead. Down to the inside goes Ernie Irvan, and the California driver is back in front.
He slid up in front of him that time, buddy.
Yeah, he had enough momentum getting into the corner, and when he got up just enough to get by Bill Elliott, he went right over, and now you can see him down the front straightaway now. You see him move to the inside, drafting. Looks like a Congo line coming down through there. Everybody following each other, trying to make time right now.
The 91 winner of the Daytona 500, Ernie Irvan, that much closer across another lap. What's that, 186 complete now of the 200 to be run. I don't think anybody ever showed more class than in Talladega 1991 when he got up and apologized to the entire driving group at the driver's meeting. I've been driving over my head. I've been too aggressive at times. 1993. Ernie Irvan replaced Davey Allison in that Texaco Haviland and Robert Yates T-Bird when Davey Allison was killed at Talladega. Yep, and he's around up there in that turn too, where it almost completely stopped for him, weaving his way through traffic. That's Kim looking on, Irvan looking on, watching that guy in 28. Nursed him back to health after that horrible crash, given a 10% chance of life after his crash here in 1994, and Irvan's out to get revenge. He's great right now. And in 96, he walked away from a terrible crash in Charlotte in the 500. He suffered a concussion. Right back at it again. Final lap. The number 28 stays in first. 3.5 seconds back to Bill Elliott. And for Ernie Irvan, a guy who gave everything nearly, just about everything, 10% chance of living after that crash in 94 right here in turn 2. Here he comes around, headed for checkers. Ernie Irvan is finally going to win the track that nearly did him in. Ernie Irvan for the checkered flag, and he's won the Michigan 400.
That's great. Boy, it's good to see.
Ernie Irvan climbs out of his Robert Yates Thunderbird. Ernie, this track nearly took your life. Today, you took something back from it, a big win.
I tell you, it's pretty emotional. Started about 10 laps to go, started getting tears in my eyes. I tell you, it's great. Only in America, you know what I mean? This Texaco Haviland Ford race team, all the sponsors are unbelievable. And this is the best place to do it. This is Ford Motor Company. You know, this is their home base in Detroit. And it's great.
A lot of people maybe had written you off after the crash. After this year went along here without a win, people were saying he's moving on, he might not be here, and you told me yesterday what you've got to do is win consistently. You took a big step today.
Well, I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, you know, it's a lot easier to get sponsors to rally behind you when you win. And, you know, we've been real close this year, but it's just a matter of some bad luck. And, you know, the only way we can get good luck is just keep preparing ourselves and be able to get good race cars every day.
Days after the Pepsi 400 at Daytona, Robert Yates told Ernie they would not be renewing his contract for 1998. Instead, Texaco pushed the team to hire 28-year-old Kenny Irvan, who many compared to Jeff Gordon in terms of talent. In late August, Irvan reached a deal to drive in 1998 for MB2 Motorsports, a team currently in their debut season with Derek Cope behind the wheel. While it seemed like a small, unproven team, the deciding factor for Ernie was the sponsorship with the Mars Company and Skittles. He wrote in his book, quote, "For 4 years, I had felt like Texaco's whipping boy." He said that Skittles, quote, "made it clear they wanted to promote Ernie Irvan, and they wanted me to promote their fine products." Irvan finished 14th in points, his worst for a full season since 1989. The end of the year was marked by a run-in with his replacement in the Truck Series race at Fontana.
And now brings Ernie Irvan. Oh, the contact between those two trucks. Man, Irvan in the 28, the 44 made contact in that. Irvan staying right in line, Kenny Irvan Jr., but Ernie Irvan comes up around the outside to make a doorpost to doorpost. And that's going to let Mike Wallace run second spot. Now then we see those trucks slamming off each other. Once again slamming off each other. They come to the line. And it's Irvan. Man, they never quit beating on each other. That was amazing. Kenny Irvan Jr. hangs on to third spot over Ernie Irvan. And then on the cool-off lap, was Ernie Irvan a little unhappy about the way that last lap unfolded? I think so. son, we need to talk. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Irvan was mad at getting run up the track and denied any underlying anger over getting replaced. Post-race, he said, quote, "I'm glad he got the ride I had. I was ready to leave there anyway. He's going to learn it ain't as sweet as it seems." Entering 1998, Irvan was named to NASCAR's list of the 50 greatest drivers, and Ernie became a father again. One day after finishing 7th in the Bud Shootout at Daytona, his son Jared was born.
Earnhardt to the inside, wants the lead back. And here comes Ernie Irvan with him.
Ernie Irvan. That's a brand new ride for him, but it is working like Ernie Irvan's cars always do. Has something to do with the driver, I guess.
Of the first 9 drivers right now, Irvan is the only one to taste victory in the Daytona 500. The lead pack comes down to the start-finish line. Earnhardt, Irvan. Right behind, there's Ernie Irvan's Pontiac. He moved out of Robert Yates' Ford at the end of last season.
Ernie Irvan has worked his way back into contention right now. He's under Bobby Labonte. That's the group running side by side back there. That's not a good thing with just few laps to go, though.
2 laps to go. Labonte up high. Earnhardt uses the lap car of Rick Bass as a pick. 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. Finally.
Ernie Irvan with an incredibly strong day today with the MB2 team. Were you at all surprised at the quality of that race car?
No, I really wasn't. The Skittles Pontiac is a really good car, and they built last year, built this team, and the Pontiacs are an awesome car, and I'm just glad that we got a good run in. And
what now? What do you expect for 1998?
I'm just going to keep building on it. Just keep getting good runs in every week, and this is a lot better start than I had last year, and we're just going to keep building on it.
1998 was a growing year for Ernie and the team, but showed flashes that they had a good foundation to build on.
Engines getting warmed up on the grid. Let's take a look at the starting lineup. The pole sitter is Ernie Irvan in the Skittles Pontiac, qualifying at a new track record, 179.394. Let's see if Ernie Irvan can do it. Here's the checkered flag. Is he going to knock Bobby Labonte off the pole?
I think he did. Let's see. Ernie, did you?
Yes!
How about that? Just barely.
Ernie Irvan has his 3rd pole of 1998.
In the first 27 races, Irvan won 3 poles, his most since 1994.
The 36 car, meanwhile, has been back in the pits. Jerry, did they fix the brakes?
They did, but let me show you what happened. This is the right front tire off the 36 car. They ran over debris. This is where the debris sliced a part of the rubber out. It bounced off the tire, came on the inside, and cut a brake line. This is all brake fluid on the inside of this right front tire. He came down pit road. The crew was able to physically stop the car with their hands and their legs. They went in with a pair of vice grips and clamped that brake line off, replaced the right front tire, added brake fluid. He's going to come back in now and get more fluid to get those brakes pumped back up, and he should be able to finish.
Oh, man, there he goes. Up the hill. Oh, bam, hard contact.
Several cars again involved. And this is the big one that we had hoped we would not have.
There we see Sterling Marlin gets in the back of someone, and I still...
Look, it's Ernie Irvan.
Yeah.
Ernie Irvan in the car number 36.
Oh, along comes
he gets hit hard.
And other cars, there's Mark spinning in the back.
Ernie Irvan, you can see, is being lifted very carefully out of his race car. The top of the car has been cut away. He's being put onto a backboard and then a stretcher, and will go to the infield care center.
Irvan suffered a concussion in the crash and an injured neck. He started the race at Daytona 6 days later before giving the car to Ricky Craven, who drove it to an impressive 8th-place finish. But with lingering neck issues and an overall battered body, Ernie chose to sit out the rest of the season instead of returning for 1 or 2 races.
crash involving Ernie Irvan.
Oh, a lot of damage to the M&M's Pontiac back in the backstretch.
Ernie Irvan is also assisted from his M&M's car.
Ernie Irvan on the outside had no contact whatsoever. He got sideways coming off turn 2.
Boy, Ernie Irvan hit that inside wall very hard.
Wow, I saw a smoker in the corner there, the 36 car. Ernie Irvan was smoking really hard going down in turn 1. You can see he's lost the motor there.
I've been 3 or 4 ever seen him backing in the fence up there. And I'm telling you, what's happened to Ernie Irvan this year in 1999 shouldn't happen to a dog. He has had the worst luck, I think, of anybody on the circuit. Tough break in 1990. About every race for Ernie in 1999.
The good runs of 1998 didn't translate to 99. After 21 races, Irvan was 26th in points, the lowest he had been at that point of the season since 1988. He had 5 top 10 finishes and 9 finishes outside the top 30. But a trip to Michigan in August, of all places, offered a hope for a good run. Entering the race in June, Irvan said, quote, "Michigan has been a really good racetrack for me. If you take out my accident, the track has been great for me." In June, Irvan qualified 2nd and finished in 7th. The 5-year anniversary of his major crash fell on a Friday in 1999. Ernie had put it behind him, and it likely wasn't weighing on his mind when he went out for Busch Series practice. Irvan was unconscious when the safety workers reached the car, but he soon woke up. He was airlifted to the same hospital he was at 5 years earlier, being treated by the same doctors and nurses. He had suffered a bruised lung and another concussion.
Labor Day weekend started on a difficult note. Ernie Irvan, who had suffered a concussion from a crash while practicing his Busch car at the Michigan Speedway just a few weeks earlier, announced his retirement from the sport.
I appreciate everybody coming out. This is really a special moment in my career, and it's probably one I never thought I'd have to face. But I figure it's smart for me to retire.
Irvan's comeback from a near-death accident in 1994 was one of the most inspiring stories in NASCAR's 50-year history. Ernie will always be involved in the sport, but we will all always miss him on the racetrack.
A series of accidents took Ernie's career from him, but still there was one final misfortune that took what was left. On March 25, 2000, while the family was on vacation in the Bahamas, their home in Mooresville, North Carolina, caught fire and burned to the ground. While the family lost almost all their possessions, also lost were Ernie's racing memorabilia, including most of his trophies and racing uniforms, like the one he wore in the 1991 Daytona 500. Some survived, like a Skittles uniform pulled from under a foot of rubble by a police officer. The officer got it cleaned and returned it to Ernie, who then donated it to the police to auction off to raise money for the Special Olympics. Memories were all Ernie was left with, but that wasn't enough for a man who had the respect of so many. The many friends he had made wanted to give something back. While walking in the garage at Daytona in late June, Ernie was unexpectedly brought into the media center. Waiting for him was NASCAR president Mike Helton, who told Ernie that he was my hero. "I mean that. You've been my hero for a long time." Then a curtain was pulled down, and Ernie was surprised with exact replicas of all 15 trophies he won as a Cup driver.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
After leaving NASCAR, Ernie stayed active. In 2000, he hosted a fishing show called On the Pole for Fox Sports. He was involved in real estate investments and formed a charity called Race to Safety, which raised awareness for brain injuries and bought bicycle helmets for children.
Now you're trying to gear this toward young kids who's riding bicycles and scooters.
Right, because there's no cure. It's all about, being able to have the prevention and getting kids to start wearing their protective gear, because I'm a head injury survivor. And I'm a two-time survivor of a head injury, and most people don't have that choice of being able to be a survivor. Most people, a lot of people die, 20,000 or 50,000 die a year with a head injury. Some of them are car related, some of them are accident related with bicycles and stuff like that. So what we want to do is get it where every 23 seconds there's another head injury. And so it's a TBI, traumatic brain injury. And if we can get it where every 25 seconds there's one, so then if we can get it where that number gets farther and farther apart, I think we're doing a good job.
Jared Irvan followed his father into racing and competed in late model events.
Basically a paint scheme of the Daytona 500 winner, so I think we've got him up beat.
He won the Daytona 500 in that paint scheme, so I'm hoping to bring back a little glory to it, you know. We got it about as close as we can get it without having the actual old sponsor on it.
Ernie continues to be well admired and was honored as one of NASCAR's 75 greatest drivers in 2023. When people called him Swervin Irvan in response to crashing, Ernie wrote that it made him furious. The dictionary definition would say that to swerve is to change directions quickly. For good and bad, Ernie has had to change directions very quickly many times in his life. But through unwavering strength, Ernie Irvan has always moved forward. Maybe it's not so bad to be Swervin after all.